Let's make blueberry muffins. Muffins are a really easy recipe. You end up first mixing your dry. So in our bowl, we're gonna put our flour, sugar, salt, and our baking powder here. And we're just going to mix that together, and it's gonna look like a lot of nothing, okay? Good as that, you can see, doesn't look like much. We're gonna put this aside. We're gonna grab a second bowl. Now in here, we're going to put in our egg, and we're going to just whisk that a little bit, okay? I know you're not gonna like the sound, that's a better way. Now from there, we're going to add in our melted butter. This has been melted and cooled. And we can just scrape out the rest of that to make sure it's in there. Now remember, this goes really quick for me because I've pre-measured out my ingredients. So when you're doing this at home, it might take a little longer, but that's okay. We're gonna add our milk here. And then that ends up looking just like this, pretty basic. We're gonna grab our dry ingredients again. I just realized I actually forgot to put in my lemon zest. Pop that in there. This just gives a little bit of a scent and flavor without sweetness, and it balances really well with the blueberries. So you don't have to do it. I prefer it. I think it tastes really good. But again, if you don't have it, you don't have to. And if you don't know how to do that, this is a zester. Where is that? There you go. This is a zester, and then you've got your lemon. So this is really, really sharp. These are little razor blades, so you don't want to touch that with your skin, but you can just go over top and it gives you the zest. So just so you can know how that works. And again, mix that in here. Perfect. Okay, so then all we need to do is add our liquid into our dry. And again, we'll scrape that all out. And we're gonna fold this together. Yes, the famous fold. So you are going to go around the edge, through the center, around the edge, through the center, until it comes together. These, just like with cupcakes, you want to do the least amount of mixing possible so that it stays nice and light and fluffy. If you whip and whip and mix and mix and mix these, it actually makes the gluten start to activate, so that's why things turn out bready. So you can see it's coming together really nicely. Make sure you get right down to the bottom. That's why they say to scrape through the center to make sure that everything comes together. If there's a little bit of powder at the end, that's okay, because again, you'd want it's better to be undermixed than overmixed. So that's looking great, okay? So now for us to add in our blueberries. Now here's the thing, you could actually skip the lemon rind. This is your perfect muffin mix. You could do chocolate chips. You could do whatever you want in this. Banana nut, you can do the same thing, but here we're doing blueberry. But before you put your blueberries in, you want to dust them. These have been already washed and everything. Dust them with flour and just roll it around. So what that's going to do is it's going to help suspend it into here. So then when these bake, it doesn't sink to the bottom, because that is a terrible thing. But you can see they're nice and coated. Just pop those right in. And again, fold them in gently. You can use frozen. I actually prefer frozen. These are fresh because I had them, but I prefer using frozen just because you can keep them longer if you're not going to always have them. And they're also cheaper. And they're usually picked in like the peak of season. So for me, frozen fruit in baking is probably one of my favorites, unless it specifically asks for the other. Okay, so you can see this is looking very nice. All of those blueberries are in there. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So we are going to set that aside for a second. So next you're going to take your muffin tin with your liners, okay? So if you want to know an easy way to do this, you just push it. Because a lot of times people are like, how come these stick together and they're so tough to get out? These ones I get at a baking store because they're really heavy. Oh, darn them. They're heavy, but they look really professional when they're done, so there's extras there. Let's do a 2-second tidy. Just stack these. Again, because I have to do this in more of a baking show style, I have a lot more mess to deal with, but you won't have as much mess. So we're gonna bring back in our batter. This is just a standard size ice cream scoop. People will not like the sound of this, but you're gonna just do one good scrape of it. Wipe it off, about like this, and pop it in, okay? So you do that the same with every single one. Pop it in. And this way they are measured exactly the same for each one, so you never have to worry that one's gonna be more full than another or larger. There we go. And we are gonna end up baking these at 425 for 20 minutes. It's a quick bake, which is nice. You can do it really any time without it having to take up your whole day, which I love. And this should make almost exactly 12. You might have to do a little scraping. And if you find like, hey, I don't feel like I have enough blueberries, you can grab a few more blueberries. I'll be able to get one more out of there when I scrape it. Yeah, you can see that there's lots of batter left in here. So you can just scrape this out, put it right into here, and you can see it makes just about a perfect dozen, which I love. There's not a ton of blueberries in this last one, which is okay, because what you can do after that, there's a little in here, oh well, that's okay. What you can do after that is if you feel like, okay, these would look better having a couple extra, you can just put a couple on top, just to make sure that they kind of have that classic blueberry muffin look. And that's how people get that nice look on them. It's not that they baked it perfect, that they actually styled it before they put it in the oven. So just so you know, you can do that. And then finally, we're going to take just a little bit, this is just my sugar, take a tiny bit of sugar like this, and you're gonna dust it over the top. This is gonna give you a little crust on the top of them it'll brown a little bit nicer, as well as give you that crunchy top, which is really great. Doesn't have to be a lot. You could actually even do this and just sprinkle it with your hands and not have to do it with a spoon, but to each their own. Okay, so we're gonna bake this at 425 for 20 minutes. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. So this is straight out of the oven. That is what they will look like when they are done. You're gonna wanna let them cool, but you can see they've got that nice crusty top. Everything is great. Everything is baked thoroughly. We'll let it cool and then I'll break one open and show you the inside. I'm gonna give you a nice, just close look at these, what they ended up looking like once they're baked through. They look awesome. Here's gonna be your recipe so that way you can screenshot it. I have it obviously in the cups and grams for you, and then I will break one of these bad boys open so you can see the inside. So these have been cooling on the counter for a little bit. We're gonna take one out. This is like probably the smallest of them, but when you can see it's open, you're still a little bit warm here. And the inside ends up looking like this. So you can see blueberry all the way through, few at the bottom. I might have need to have done a little bit more for, oh, see that one's still there. A little bit more for the flour in there, but they worked beautifully. They baked completely the whole way through, only 20 minutes. And now you can make this at home too. Okay, love you, bye. I ate that whole thing really fast.